Okay, let's try this. Let's try this fucking piece of shit again. I tried to do a video on Dr. Ruth Westheimer, who had just died, but obviously the video didn't go through, so I'm gonna retry it again. Um, former sex therapist Dr. Ruth Westheimer has died. She was 96. She was best known by Dr. Ruth, and she was a German-American sex therapist, talk show host, author, professor, and Holocaust survivor. Um, you know, she was born in Germany, and when the Nazis were rising to power, her parents sent her, at the time she was a 10-year-old girl, to a school in Switzerland for her safety, and the parents remained behind because of their elderly grandmother. Basically, her parents were both sent to concentration camps by the Gestapo, where they were both ended up being killed. But after World War II ended, she immigrated to the British-controlled Mandatory Palestine, and she was very tiny for her height, being only 4 feet 7 inches tall. She joined the Haganah and was trained as a sniper, but she never engaged in any physical combat. She was seriously wounded when she was 20 years old, and she was wounded in action by an exploding shell during a mortar attack, a mortar fire attack on Jerusalem during the 1947 to 1949 Ha'atzmaut War. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Where she almost lost both of her feet. 2 years later, she moved to Paris, France, where she studied psychology. And in 1956, she would immigrate to the United States, where she worked as a maid to put herself through graduate school. And she earned an MA degree in sociology from the New School in 1959, and she would earn a doctorate at the age of 42 from the Teachers College of Columbia University in 1970. Now, over the next 10 years after that, she taught at a number of universities, and she had a private sex therapy practice. In 1980, she started her own little talk radio show called Sexually Speaking, which continued up until 1990. In 1983, it was the top-rated radio show in the area and the country's largest radio market. She would then launch a TV show called The Dr. Ruth Show, which by 1985 would attract over 2 million viewers a week. She became known for giving serious advice while being candid, also warm, cheerful, funny, and respectful, and she came up with her own tag phrase, "Get Some." In 1984, the New York Times noted that she had risen from obscurity to almost instant stardom, and she would host several different TV series on the Lifetime channel and other cable network television shows from 1984 up until 1993. She became a household name and a major cultural icon figure, and she appeared on several network TV shows, and she co-starred in a movie with Gerard Depardieu, which I'm not sure what that one's called. And she appeared on the cover of People magazine, sang on a Tom Chapin album, and she appeared in several different commercials and hosted numerous Playboy videos. And she was the author of more than 45 books on sex and sexuality and how to perform different sexual positions. Now, the one-woman 2013 play "Becoming Dr. Ruth" was written by Mark St. Germain, and it's about her life as is the 2019 documentary called "Ask Dr. Ruth," which was directed by Ryan White. Westheimer has been inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame, and she's been awarded the Magnus Hirschfeld Medal, the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, the Leo Bayak Medal, the Planned Parenthood Margaret Sanger Award, and the Order of Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany. She was born Carola Ruth Siegel in the small village of Weisenfeld, which is now part of Germany. She was the only child of Orthodox Jewish people, of the Orthodox Jews Irma, who was a housekeeper, and Julius, and her father Julius, a notions wholesaler and son of the family for whom Irma worked for. From the age of 1, she lived in an apartment in Frankfurt, Germany with her parents, and her paternal grandmother Selma, who was a widow. She was given an early grounding in Judaism by her father, who took her regularly to the synagogue in the northern district of Frankfurt, where they all lived. Her father, at the age of 38, was taken away by the Nazis, who sent him to the concentration camp a week after Kristallnacht, which was the night of broken glass when Nazis burned down 10,000 Jewish stores as well as Jewish homes and synagogues in November of 1938. Now, Westheimer was crying while her father was taken away by the Gestapo men who loaded him on a truck, while her grandmother handed Nazis money, pleading, "Take good care of my son," which they did not. When she was 10 years old, Westheimer's mother and grandmother decided that Nazi Germany was too dangerous for her to be living in due to the upcoming Nazi Nazi-powered violence. Therefore, a few weeks later, in January of 1939, they sent her on the Kinder transport, an organized Jewish children's rescue train, to Switzerland. Even though Westheimer did not want to leave her mother and grandmother behind, Westheimer then, at the age of 10, was never hugged again as a child. She ended up at an orphanage of a Jewish charity in Heiden, Switzerland, as one of 300 Jewish children, some of them being as young as 6 years old. By the end of World War II, nearly all of them were orphans, as their parents never made it out of Germany, or they ended up being murdered by the Nazis and Hitler. In the orphanage, she was given cleaning responsibilities and took on the role of a caregiver and mother-like figure to the younger children. She remained in the orphanage for 6 years, and Westheimer, being a girl at that time, was not allowed to take classes at the local school. But however, a fellow orphan boy would sneak her his textbooks at night so that she could read them in secret and continue her education. Now, while she was at the Switzerland orphanage, Westheimer corresponded with her mother and grandmother through letters. The letters would cease to exist in 1941. Her father was murdered in the Auschwitz concentration camp in 1942, and her mother was killed during the Holocaust, but there was no information about the specific circumstances regarding her being dead, about her dying. And basically, they don't know how she died. They just know that she did. She basically had a guilt. She lived with an irrational guilt, and she thought that if she had stayed in Germany, she could have saved her parents, which doesn't mean anything either. She could have ended up being dead like her parents do. Later, she said the guilt had been replaced by an admiration for her parents' sacrifice and sending her for safety, saying, "I would not have the courage to send my own children away like that." She lived all over. Like, she lived in Israel, she lived in Germany, France, the United States. She was very outspoken on certain things. So in her media career, she was described as Grandma Freud and the Sister Wendy of sexuality. Westheimer helped revolutionize talk about sex and sexuality on radio and television, advocating for speaking openly about sexual issues. Her questions, her question topic ranged from women who could not have orgasms or did not have orgasms, to the best time of day to have sex, which she claimed in the morning, to men who would have premature ejaculations, to foreplay, to oral sex, to sexual fantasies. Embrace them. If you want to believe that a whole football team is in bed with you, that's fine, basically, is what she said. To men who masturbate, or women who masturbate, to erections, to sexual positions, and to the G-spot. She stressed that anything that two consenting adults do in the privacy of their own bedroom or kitchen is between them and is all right with anybody. And she asked a question as to having sex with an animal. She responded, "I'm not a veterinarian, and I wouldn't know." She was very outspoken against pedophilia, and she spoke out strongly in favor of having sex and in favor of contraception being used, in favor of the availability of abortion as an aid for contraception failures, in favor of sex with relationships rather than one-night stands, in favor of funding for Planned Parenthood, and in favor of research for AIDS. And she educated her listeners about sexually transmitted diseases. She's been married 3 times. She had 2 kids. And her husband that she married was also her third husband that she married was also a Holocaust survivor, and they ended up married for 36 years back in 61 to 97, and her husband passed away in 97, and after that she never remarried again. She was fluent in English, German, French, and Hebrew. It's very good that you could speak that many languages, if not more. But she was been around forever, and sometimes when you hear people dying and they're like in their 90s and you thought, oh my God, they died years ago, and eventually Dr. Ruth has died, and she was 96, but no cause of death yet given, but I'm going to suspect it's old age because of her being 96. So if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so you can be notified when a new video comes out. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just as little as a few bucks of a video a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.